Hello everyone, this is Diane. Thanks for coming to my channel today. I am working on the winter gnome journals, and I had promised that I would show how I put this cover together after I finished making the prototype. And some of you did express interest in seeing that process. I have wallpaper on the inside and fabric, pieced together fabric on the outside, and it's got a grungy look to it, which I absolutely love. So this is the paper that we're using for the Winter Gnome Journal, and this is from Stampin' Up, and I got it last year, and it is so cute, and it looks cute and fun and cheery. So maybe you think that this is a bit too grungy for that, but I like it, and we're gonna go with it. I like the mushrooms here and their little toadstool houses. The backgrounds are pretty with snowflakes. So I'm thinking up ideas for how to do the pages, how I'm going to decorate the pages and everything. But for now, I'm just focusing on the cover. So today I'm going to show you how I did this. So this, I did show you, I laid things out. You got to see things laid out. I think it was already laid out. I didn't do that on camera, but it wasn't. Maybe I had sewn it. Yes, I guess I had sewn everything down, but I hadn't sewn around the edges yet. I don't remember what you saw. And then I added this little piece. I just glued that on, and I sewed around the edge, and I went around it twice. I flipped it over this way to do the sewing because I have the fabric hanging over the edge, and I needed to be able to see the edge of the wallpaper. So I flipped it over and sewed sewed around it so that I knew I was catching in all the wallpaper. And then I flipped it back this way and just sewed around it again, just to give it, you know, a little more of a grungy, messy look. So I think this cover is done. I was thinking about sewing some ties before I sewed this together. I was going to slip them in there, but I forgot. But I could still sew some ties on the ends, and I'll probably do that because I don't want anything wrapping around this. So let's just get started. I have this paper that I need to make sure that this will fit in the cover. So I determined that my cover pieces, I have two separate pieces, and I determined that they would be 8 5/8 by 6 7/8. I cut this, it's 12 inches, that's how it came, wide, and I cut it 8 5/8. No, that's the cover. I cut it 8 inches high. So I made my covers 8 5/8 by 6 7/8. I have it written down so I remember to do it for the next journal. And you can see it fits in there nicely, top to bottom. I like a little bit of space, and I'm talking the wallpaper. The fabric is just extra, but I want it to fit within the wallpaper. And there's a lot of room here, but because of the nature of this, when it is all sewn in and then, you know, put together like this, it will push the signature out a little. And I don't mind, that gap. And I will put trims on the edges of some of the pages, so that'll take up some of that gap space. So that's how I determined the size. And I just figured a 2-inch spine because that's what I normally do. So let's get busy. I chose this wallpaper for the second journal. And I've just, you can see I tore it out of the wallpaper book and I folded it in half. So I'm going to cut it at 8 5/8 inches for the height. And then I can trim the edge off. Oops, had it all nicely in there in my sleeve. Bumped it. These sleeves, they're so stretched out because I push them up to wash dishes. And this will be 6 7/8. Oh, that's pretty much where I folded it. Didn't cut much off of that. So So there is that. And I'll just cut it into two. I need two separate pieces. I should have had these pieces ready, but I'm going to cut a piece of this hanging file folder. You can, if you don't have any of these, you can often find them at thrift stores, or they're not that expensive at Walmart. Or any file folder, but I just like these for a spine. I think they're a little bit different from the manila ones as far as, I don't know, I just like them, so I can't explain it. It's what I do. So that's 2 inches, and I'm going to make it the same height as the cover, which would be 8 5/8. And then I need a piece of Tyvek to put it all together. Now this is going to be the inside, because the outside, of course, is going to have the fabric. So I am putting it together on the inside, which is what I always do with my regular book covers. So I'm treating this like I would for just any book cover that I take apart. If I take apart a book and I make a new spine, this is how I put them together. I rearranged my drawers. And I moved the Tyvek from the top drawer to the bottom because I don't need to access it that often. And I forgot. Okay, so that's the Tyvek. I get this at Amazon. And Tyvek, if you don't know, is like, it's a plastic, not a paper. You can cut it, but you can't tear it. So it's great for this. So I'll cut this about, that's a 2-inch spine. So I'm going to cut it about 3.5 inches wide. So it can span the spine and go onto both covers. And I'll cut it just a smidge shorter than the spine. So it's 8 5/8, so I'll just cut it at 8.5. Just so it's not hanging over the edges. And I still have some Tyvek left for the next journal. I have my red tape. Some people just use something like Fabri-Tac, which would be a lot quicker. But this is what I've always done since the beginning of time. No, since the beginning of making junk journals, smash books, all of it. I missed a little spot up there, but I think that'll be okay. I like the red tape. It's very sturdy, and you can get the red tape at any craft store. Some of them have their own brands. Hobby Lobby, I think, has their own brand. I know Joann's does, and Michael's Recollections brand. You can get it at Amazon, and this is 1/4 inches wide, 1/4 inch. You can get it in 1/8 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1 inch, and I think even wider. But I have found recently that the very, very best price on this red tape is at Hobby Lobby. Well, I don't know about Amazon. I didn't compare it to Amazon. But they it was $2.99 for the longest time at all of the stores. And then it went up to, I don't remember, it was like $3.50 or something like that. And now at Hobby Lobby, it's like $1.50. I don't know why it went down, but I'm not going to argue about it. I'm not going to complain. So it's not really red. I'm trying to get the liner off. It's just the liner that's red. That red helps you see where you're putting it, I suppose. Let me get a knife tip. That's a lot quicker. And I suppose you don't need to put it on the ends of this, but I always do. More security is always good, right? I don't think you really need to. I hope we'll have time to lay out our fabrics after I get this all put together. Trying to get under the red tape, but it's wanting to pull all of the tape up. It's wanting to pull up the adhesive too. So I keep moving up the line here. Of course, the last one's going to give me trouble. Okay, there we go. And you've seen me do this a lot of times if you watch my channel a lot, but I use the grid on my mat to line my pieces up so that they're straight. So I've lined the side and the bottom up with the grid lines on my mat. And then the next piece I line up with the bottom and with this piece, which is a little difficult because it's curving up. It's hard to see. So I'll hold it down. And don't put your fingers in the tape, because when you move your hand, of course, you're going to move the piece. And I'm just leaving a tiny little gap in between the pieces. Oops, I bumped it. There's a little piece of tape here. It's a guideline for when I'm filming and it's sticking up. I'm pretty careful about doing this step because this is the basis of your whole journal. I think it's easier with a hardback book that's not as flimsy. So I'm sorry, folks. Maybe I'll be able to skip some of this. Forward it. Cut it out. Or maybe you need to see. Okay, it's all lined up. Just making sure the gap isn't too big. Now I have to carefully lay this down without moving the pieces. There. So this is the outside cover, and this is the inside cover. There's a little bit of excess. I always would rather have too much than not enough, so I can trim that off. I don't need to do it right away. Well, yeah, I probably do. Because if I lay everything out on that, I want to sew it, glue it and sew it. So I need to have this trimmed. I'm not going to do any sewing on this video. And this is going to be a rough cut edge, but that's all going to be covered. Okay, now we can have some fun. With the first journal, I used some vintage patchwork, so I want to do that with this journal also. But I want to do a different one just to make it different. Let's use this light blue this time. I don't know, that's a bigger piece though. Maybe that could be a whole journal cover. All right, I'll save that one. So this one is another big piece, but oh, isn't that pretty? That would make a great journal cover too, but I have other patchwork pieces to make journal covers. I can do this. So I'm going to just cut a piece of this, and you can see that it's not cut straight, and I allowed that. See, that's right there is part of that quilt block, and it just kind of juts down, but I left it. I wanted it to look not even. right, so I could cover the whole front of the journal with this and then add patches to it, because this one goes up this far. That was as big as the piece was, and I just had to fill in up there. So I'm going to cut it so it goes onto the spine. That will be covered. But I don't want to cut it too small, you know. So you can tell these patches aren't in the best of shape, so I don't mind cutting it up. This one, I don't mind the dirty looking parts, but maybe this one looks better. But I really like this edge, so we're going to go with this. So just have it hanging over a little bit. It's probably more than I need. But this is one edge, so I don't want to go out any further. I could trim that if I think it's too much, but I want to leave that raw edge. So I think I'll just leave that. I don't know, that's a lot hanging off here. We'll just have to see how we feel about it. And I'm going to trim a little bit up here. Okay. So this is here. Now, I need a fabric for the spine. I think I'll use this brown. I like that. I used a blue one on the other. This is a vintage piece. The other one I used was a new piece. I got a bunch of brownish and blue fabrics at a flea market, like all in one box. It was really fun. So I'll lay this down and I'll put the spine on top of it. Something I want to make sure I do is find the center of the spine piece and mark it, and then find the center of this piece and mark it, so that this is on the spine. That'll make it easier for me to see where the front and back are, you know, because of all these various pieces. Now I'll just use this piece again. I cut this up, cut a little piece off of that for that, so I'm going to do that again for this one. Maybe I'll do a 4 square on this. Okay, well, I need a background piece here too. So since I have brown here, I'm going to use blue here. I wonder if I could see this print through that. If you look hard enough, you can, but we won't look hard enough. This is a Moda fabric, so this is a new one. it's shaping up. Put this on top. I might as well mark these now. Put these down first. And then this. Okay. And then lay this down. Now we get to have the fun of just adding pieces to this. Just for fun, because it's all covered now, but we want it to be more interesting. So I want to put some burlap on, and I have these colors of burlap, and I have this blue lace, or lace, leather. That's from a sample card of, well, it wasn't a card, they were on this big heavy ball chain, a whole bunch of samples of leather. So I used a piece on this. I think I'll use the blue one for here. I can peel these labels off, but they leave stickiness behind. I went to get my nails done today because I showed you that broken. The nail isn't broken, but the polish broke off. I showed you that in yesterday's video, but I went this morning, but it's Monday morning and everybody wants to get their nails done on Monday morning. So I'll go back. Figured about 2 o'clock maybe would be safe. I don't know. So right after I finish this video, probably. Okay, we got those pieces on. Now the burlap. I think I will add a pink burlap because I don't have any pink yet on here. And I'm not going too pink because these are more of a peach. But I don't have that color, but this looks pretty good with it. And these are vintage burlaps. I got a bunch of these different colored pieces at a yard sale from a crafter who had been crafting for many years, and they're turning brown at the edges, so I know they're old. Not sure how big I want this to be. Maybe let's try a banner shape. And I could put another piece of fabric up here for some interest. No, not that one. I meant to grab this one. Or maybe this one with a little bit of a brighter blue. There's not a lot of green in the paper. It's mostly blues and browns and the rusts and peach colors. But I I like blue for winter journals. Just have it go all the way across. And if I want to, I can put the spine piece on top of that, but I don't have to do that. I'll leave that decision for later. Now, I do have a printable gnome digital there. So I didn't print another one of those. But what did I do with all my stuff? I figured I wouldn't need it in this video, so I moved it aside. All the, just whatever papers I had collected. I've got these, but here they are. These pieces. Let's see what I have here that I might be able to add. Oh, I could just add a mushroom piece. These are from Mrs. Cog's set. Gnomes, fairies, and little people, I think. So I wouldn't want all of them in this journal. And I do want it to look wintry, so I thought this one might be good. Or this one. I don't know. It's got berries. We'll just see. But I can use these mushrooms. They came from a different set. Look at this one. The fussy cut one. What do I want on the cover? How about this with the red? Or just that. This is an antique piece. It was in a scrapbook. It's got glittery snow on it. I'll use that inside. I only have one of those. And I'm doing 2 journals. But like I said yesterday, one of the journals I'm making for a friend. So only one will be in my shop. And I don't reserve journals, so I will let you know when it will be listed. Got some mushroom pieces that came out of a book. I don't need to cut it out all the way. I just want to audition it. This would be hard to sew around, though. Either one of those. I like this because it's got more color. This has a lot of white. Maybe I'll just keep a square. That would be easier to sew around. Oh, I did use some of that pink burlap on this. So let's take a piece of blue here. Make it look a little rough. And I have a mushroom stamp. A yo-yo. I used a yo-yo on the other one. That's not the right color. That's probably one I got out for circus journals. It's too bright. My basket of yo-yos is overflowing. But it's a little basket. So these are not vintage. I don't know how old they are. I got them at a flea market. But I do have some vintage ones here. I like that blue gingham. I like this one too. I'm just snipping some threads on here. This was sewn together really well. Oh boy. I'll do that later. But I might use that right there. I have this that looks like a flower. That one's newer. I like that. It kind of goes well with that. Maybe we'll just use that. And I think I'll cut this a little smaller. I think what I should have done was use the burlap as a mat for this, like that. That's a finished edge. Okay, I'll cut this piece. It is time consuming to design a cover like this, and I know that I am pretty quick about stuff, so it might take you longer. But, you know, I am trying to audition different things and change my mind if I need to. So it is a process. Then I have, oh, got burlap all over that now. I have brown, dark brown thread in my sewing machine. So if I sew around this with brown, dark brown thread, that'll look cool. All right, so I have my image and my burlap all together in one piece, and I can add my stamp. I have this, but I might look for a bird stamp. I used this. It's a digital bird stamp right there. And that's a digital stamp. Or I probably have stamps I could stamp, you know. Okay, it needs something else. What else does it need? Oh, well, I have some numbers, little number labels there. I've got brown and blue. So I'll pull some of each and we can make a decision. I could even add pink if it's a peachy pink, or these red ones have some rusty looking things. out. I know if I don't zip them, I'm going to move this thing and it'll flop. And oh, look at that. A stamp. And I will lose my stuff all over the floor, and that will make me unhappy. So I try to remember to zip as I go, no matter how much of a hurry I'm in, because it will save time. Okay, brown ones. Those are small. Let's find one that's a little bigger, like that. Okay, then we can decide if we want small or large, brown or blue. And I can use some on the back too. I'm having fun doing this, are you? Are you crafting with me? I think that stamp is a little bit too big. I was thinking about taking these stamps out of this binder because I took it off my shelf because I needed to put something else up there. And I thought, I don't use the stamps that often, so why keep them in a binder? But it is much easier to find what you want. So I don't know. If I don't find a place to put the binder, then I will remove them from the binder, put them in something else. There's another mushroom stamp. I had some tree stamps, but they're all deciduous trees, and it's winter time. Maybe that's an evergreen, I don't know. All right, what am I looking for? A little bird stamp. I wanted something small. There's a chicken. That's not the kind of bird I was looking for. Something foresty. Oh, I guess the hole's on the back. Oh, I'm not seeing anything, but I'm going to just pull something out for size and color. And I can spend more time looking. I'll look at my digital ones that I already have printed too. But I just want to put one in place right now. And I like this rusty one. What's on it? Oh, this one doesn't have any figures. It's just a stamp, so I could use that. Okay, I like that. I'll put a leaf here. I know it's winter. We have a flower there. That's okay. I'm trying to keep it wintry. But we have to make some concessions. Maybe just those petals are enough. The other one is a yo-yo, so it's just a round shape, but this one has the petal shapes, so maybe we don't need a leaf there. Okay, let's look at this side. How much time do I have? Not much. I have a piece of trim. I hope I can find it, but I want to put, I used it on the other one. Yep, I have it right here. These are trims I pulled out for these journals. And I thought this one was really interesting. And it looks foresty. So I wanted to use it somewhere back here. I don't know why it looks foresty, but it looks leafy, I guess. I've got this blue fringe that might be cute somewhere. I put a little number on the patch on the back. Maybe that. Okay. Let's see what we can do with this. What I did with the first one, I forgot to talk about the batting, because I will have batting between the layers like this. And I glued it to the wallpaper, but I could glue it to the back of this and sew through all of the layers, but I think it's easier to not have this on the bottom, like catching on the feed dog of your sewing machine. So I'm going to cut this to size and glue it to my wallpaper. I should show you that step before we're done. Whoops. Let me take a picture of all this before I move it. Oh, I can't. I'm using my phone. Well, I can watch the video. I'll just pull this out. And okay. So I cut this so that it was just inside the size, you know, so it's not sticking over the edge because I'm not wrapping the fabric around. This isn't very straight, but I don't think it matters much. And I'm going to have to patch a piece in there. This was left over from the piece that I cut off the piece already, so that's why it's so weirdly shaped. I didn't cut it for this. I think that's going to be too wide. I was just too anxious to get decorating that I forgot this part. The boring stuff. Okay, then I'll just glue that down. I put a little patch there too. The other one isn't patched. Okay, I'll glue those pieces down, and then did I glue? I don't remember. I don't think I glued this down. I think I just sewed it. But it seems like it's not loose, so maybe I did. I don't know. All right, sorry if I'm confusing you. I'm gluing this down, and then I will sew all of the pieces down. I will glue them, tack them in the middle, not glue around the edges, but I'll tack them in place. Not all of them, but the bottom layers, I will tack into place, and then I will sew around them. I tack them with glue is what I mean. And then I'll sew around all the pieces, and then I'll add a next layer on top of that until I have everything done. And the last layers might be glued, like this was glued, and this was glued, and this. But even the paper pieces I sewed on. So I hope that was helpful to you. That's probably all you're going to see about putting the cover together until we get to the inside. When we're done, I will have my signatures. I'm going to do 2 or 3 signatures, and I will sew them to a piece of thin cardstock and have a piece of fabric, just say it was this, on top of the cardstock. So I'd be sewing the signatures to this, and I would glue this down with the signatures on it. So that would cover up this not so pretty part right there. But that looks pretty. So that's how the cover is going. Next step, after I get all these covers done, is cutting the papers. And then we can get started on decorating, which is fun. So thanks for watching. I hope that this was helpful and not too confusing. If you have any questions, just leave them below, and I'll do my best to answer. And I'll see you in the next video. Do something creative today. Bye-bye.